welcome to another episode of AI Unplugged. Today I am joined with Natalie Bunyer, Sales Director at Arch Europe and Advisory Council member at the CICM. With more than 20 plus years in debt collection, Natalie has built a career on trust, compliance, and innovation, from securing FCA licenses to leading AI pilots in collection. Natalie, welcome on board. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I am always good. It's a choice you take every morning, and it's nice to see you again here in the end of the summer. I heard you've been around for some holiday, and now you're back and ready to deep down into work again.
Yes. Took 10 days off in Greece with the family, which was lovely. Chance to recharge and reset and back ready to get to it.
I love it. And what a good way to start up to talking with me then. So let's just jump right into some questions. This episode is not about me or Mega, it's actually about you. And I love to talk to industry leader working in the space that I, as a supplier, try to serve as best way as possible. So super nice to have you here. What first drew you? I know a little bit about your background story, but maybe not all the people listening to this podcast know your background. So what drew you into debt collection, and why did you stay for more than 20 years in the game?
Well, 20 years is the legitimate answer for, I suppose, payroll purposes. I actually started working in debt collection when I was about 10. So my dad had a debt collection agency that he started in 1981. And previously to that, he worked at Allied Credit. And he met somebody there and they went into business together. And so as a child, I used to often go and work in the post room back in the day when we used to send out telegrams to people. So it was more a tracing agency than debt collection when it first started. And we used to send out cards to customers telling them a room number that they needed to call in and declare. And that meant that we then knew who they were and could trace them to a new address. We worked for the banks doing that. So the business, I then, fast forward, I went through education and so forth, and shall we say, wasn't doing much. So my dad said to me that I had 1 week to find myself an actual job. I had been working. I had been working for an IT company in supposedly in credit control, and all I was doing was photocopying companies' house updates for businesses. But he felt that was far too close to debt recovery, and how dare I be doing that for somebody else? So anyway, long story short, I started working at Global officially, actually paid for the job that I was doing, and that would have been, 2002. And we definitely didn't even have a call recorder. And I'm certain I didn't even get any training. I was just handed a telephone, didn't have headsets in those days. And I was told to start collecting. So it was very much a learn on the job situation, not in any way similar to how it is for an agent starting out now. And although there was still a lot to learn, it was it just couldn't be further from the environment that we all operate in now.
I think that's interesting to deep into also. Like, so when you look back, like starting up in the post room with your father, then at that time going up, creating your own career in the industry, looking back at that, what is the biggest industry shift that you lived through in that process? You touched a little bit about it, but try to deep a little bit more into that.
So I suppose the biggest change really came about, I'd say post-financial crash, so 2013, 2014, because the banks stopped working with us. So previous to that, all of our relationships had been directly with the lenders, and then the debt purchase market suddenly ballooned. And I don't know the figures off the top of my head, but the amount of money that was suddenly sold and put back into the banks because they needed it. They obviously, everyone was in huge financial crisis after what had happened with the crash of Lehman Brothers and so forth. So it really changed the game for us, because suddenly we had to establish these new relationships with these new players in the market, and that meant compliance, which wasn't something any of us, any DCA, had ever had to do before. So and took myself back to education. And in fact, it was one of the best things I ever did. I met some wonderful, wonderful people. I did the CSA Level 5 Diploma in Risk and Compliance. And I'm still in touch with a number of the people that we all took that. We were the first cohort that did that course, and it was brilliant. And that helped me really write policy and procedure for our company, took us through FCA licensing, which my dad wasn't too interested in getting involved in. He'd seen enough sort of evolution of the OFT and so forth in his time, so kind of left that to me.
Disturbing of business.
And, yeah, exactly. Interrupted the day-to-day collections. So yeah, that sort of became my remit, if you like. But it just became difficult because I was then trying to juggle the growth of the business, day-to-day operations, and compliance, which trying to do all three was quite a task, shall we say. So yeah, fast forward and
no, continue.
Sorry, I was just going to say fast forward, and we decided to wind down the family business because it just wasn't viable any longer to run what we were doing. And Statbard trace and collect recoveries is a challenging area for the FCA to be on board with, and it just didn't feel like the right market to remain in. So I was very fortunate that Dorry, who is the MD of ARC, snapped me up and asked if I would come and join them. And it's been honestly just magical. Seems a very strange word to use when working at a debt collection agency, but I honestly couldn't be happier. So it's been wonderful. I'm really, really enjoying it.
I think it's fantastic to hear, and I can actually, I follow you guys on LinkedIn also, and when you see the environment and you see the vibe around Arch and the environment you have, then also I think, as you said, the industry have changed, so it's a more complex area today. There's more, besides compliance, it's also about training of staff. It's another type of business today, and I can see that how you get that to life. So I understand where you're coming from. It looks like a great place to work. And Natalie, when I look at your career then and all the different roles you've been through, and now you're sitting also in a leader role, and you've been through that processes, how have your leadership as a person involved, across those different roles that you have been, you started, like some people start on the phone, you started all the way back in the post room, and then you went up that direction. How has that involved you and your leader style as a person today?
Well, whilst changing from being let's say a call center agent, a natural environment may be that you slowly progress through the ranking, shall we say, and you go through interview processes and become a manager and so forth. Doing that as the boss's daughter is pretty much up there as one of the worst people you could be. So it makes it quite difficult. I think honing my relationship skills with others has been a very, very vital and, well, essential skill, shall we say, because you've gone from being bottom of the heap and, as you say, working in the post room and just, oh great, she's here now, we've all got to train her up just because she's been given this job. And I think what it did was instill in me a need to prove that I could do it, and that I wanted to do it, and that I was passionate and had that commitment to the job and the company, and that I wanted to drive it forward. And it took some time, but I think people did start to recognise that actually my dad wasn't going to work forever, and so therefore if there was a future for the business, then that was me. So I was very lucky that I had a really lovely team. And I suppose wider than that, one of the things that I'm so grateful for is, as I'm sure you've gotten to know since you've now embarked in this industry, is it is full of the most lovely people you could ever wish to meet. And when you get to go to events and mix with people that you don't necessarily know that you're going to see, it's so lovely, and everyone's so warm and welcoming, and has really helped me. And there's so many people that I know I could just pick up the phone to whenever I had a question or a query, and they're always there to help. And I think we've all been through such huge regulatory change in the last, well, just 10 years since the FCA came in, really, if not before, and the support that everybody's shown to one another, because we all were going through the same thing with needing to prove to them what we were doing. And there was obviously scrutiny put on other players, and nobody wanted to be in that camp. So yeah, I've put strong focus on the relationships I've managed to forge. It's been really positive.
Yeah, that's nice to hear. Down to a little bit about the world I'm living in, and also when you're saying from you started up, you can say in the space to now AI is coming all over the place. We hear it all the places. All your colleagues are talking about it, and AI comes in many different layers. It comes with what I do is voice agent, but it comes in all the collection platforms, the self-service portals is coming all over the place. You have tried to test it, and you have been around AI also in your type of what you are doing now. What challenges did you felt at that time that led you to test some AI tools in your collection departments or bring it into your company? What challenge was it that you saw? Hey, if I could fix this with some AI, that would be cool.
Of course. So I think the biggest shift has been customer contact. So if we rewind 10 to 15 years ago, we all relied on the post. And you wrote out to all of your customers, and an email address was an absurd thought that we would be using that as our primary method of making contact with people, let alone that then developing into text messaging as well. In fact, mobile numbers were so extortionate, who would have called one? Everyone had a landline, and it was even okay for us to call people at work, which now you wouldn't even consider doing that if you had an employment telephone number. You may if it was a mobile phone, but again, it's so unlikely. And I don't actually think customers probably even provide that information when they're borrowing any longer, which again, historically was almost mandatory. So there's been a big change in and a requirement to adapt quickly to make sure that we can fulfill the maximum and best service to clients at all times. So we've obviously, self-serve portals, and really, like everything, we need to become 24/7 because people don't work. That common 9 to 5 isn't always the case any longer. And you also have, we have a client where our average customer base is about the age of 22. And those customers, they only want to talk to us via an app. They don't want to be calling us up. The only time really they'll engage is if they have a query that they don't feel can be answered quickly through messaging. And so for us, the need for new skills and facilities and communication options has come down through customer desire, really, because we need to be able to make sure that they can call us, text us, web chat us all the time. And to have an AI bot that means that somebody can access their account 24/7 and we don't need our agents to be working 24/7 is vital, really. And I think a client would feel we're behind the times if we weren't offering that now.
Yeah. So when you go into these things and you want to do some piloting on these type of projects, the general new software coming in, AI tools, etc., what outcomes do you think on your side, with your knowledge, will define success in a pilot? What are you looking for when you are, enhancing these new tools into operation? What is a success criteria for saying, hey, this was a good pilot for you in general?
I think it would just come down to really rigorous testing, because it's like when you train an agent, you can't get them ready for every single scenario because you never know what a customer is going to say. They are all unique. And so really it's a case of just trialing as much as we possibly can to make sure that we are not going to cause any customer frustration, because that's the worst thing we want. One of the things we pride ourselves on here at ARC is our incredible Google rating, which for a debt collection agency to be over 4 stars is amazing. So it's really, really important to us. And we are have such a strong focus on it with the agents as well, to make sure that they know that they have to deliver that first class service at all times. So it would really come down to making sure that...
You back?
Oh, I lost you. You're back. Can you hear me?
Let me see there. Yeah, I can see you. You're phrasing it there. Yeah, so just take that little phrase again. Can you see me, Natalie?
Yeah, so it would come down to us basically... Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, it would be that we would need to, I suppose, do role play and scenarios and things like that, and have the comfort that we need to ensure that the AI bot is going to provide the same service to the customer that we want.
Yeah, makes sense. And And then you can say one of the things
Sorry,
that you talk
keeps
about
telling me
there,
you've left.
one of the things yeah, no. One of the things that you talk about then is also about your clients, and one thing is the end client, of course, the debtor that owes some money, and how that experience are. Then you have your clients also in general, the one that are feeding your businesses, and you can also say, I think there are many that says out in your space also, and I think it's because so new all AI stuff, but the clients aren't ready for AI yet. What do you think lies behind that? What that fear of that new technology? What fear is it that lies behind it?
I think it's the same as really most changes that have happened industry-wide. So going back to what I said before about being comfortable around using email contact and text message, it just took time. And we're in a very interesting period at the moment where we're all excited about AI. There's companies like yourselves who obviously are promoting the products that you have and building those and understanding our needs, and then also recognizing what we need to deliver to the clients. And we're that intermediary at the moment saying, we've got this product, this is what we can do for you. But it's making sure that they're comfortable, that it's not going to change anything. We're not going to cause customer complaints, and actually it's only going to enhance our customers' experience. And that's what's really vital. And I think that comes down to your good relationship with your client. And we do have that. So I think it would probably initially come down to perhaps different permissions with different people, which I know is something that obviously you would be able to manage. And there would probably be clients that would say, you roll that out over here and let's talk in 3 months' time and you give us some results and let us know how that's gone. And they're probably the ones that are slightly more reticent and perhaps unsure and lacking in knowledge about how it could support. And they just don't want to be the first person to the party, shall we say.
Yeah,
So I think we've got clients who are they're really interested, and they ask us lots of questions about AI plans and what we're doing, but there's some nervousness. So, but it will just be a time thing. If you said to me 15 years ago we'd be sending out text messages to people telling them just to log on and pay their debts, I think you were absolutely mad.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's look fast forward 5 years from now on. How do you see the whole industry shaping the customer experience in general in collection, both with AI but in general? How is that looking?
That's a difficult question. Well, let's hope we're not in economic doom. Because right now it's feeling painful. I thought that the credit crisis, as I've been talking about for the last few years, would hit us harder and quicker than it has. And we expected to see average payments decline. That hasn't happened. We expected to see borrowing decline. That also hasn't happened. And the market's evolving all the time. And I think the regulation of buy now, pay later coming in will bring some changes, but it's not going to make any difference. Unfortunately, the biggest difference that is needed, and sadly doesn't seem to be on anyone's horizon, is financial education. And until that happens, there's not going to be much difference in debt space and our customers and their lack of understanding. So in the next 5 years, we still need to be here to support people, because they are, it sounds harsh to call them this, but those that are financially illiterate, they don't understand what they've got themselves into. They've probably got 5, 6, 7 different credit agreements in varying different places. And then now they're suddenly in a position where they can't afford to pay them. And that wasn't where they were expecting to end up. And it's up to us to be a sympathetic ear and help them with the guidance that they need, whether that's signposting to a third party or providing support that we can through our agents and so forth. So the more communication options and tools that we can provide them with to just better that experience, the better, really. So hopefully, which probably feeds into quite nicely what you'd like to hear, bringing AI into the business is probably the largest change over the next 5 years, because we need to make sure that we're adapting and growing and building a really good communication base for our customers, that they can speak to us however they want to, whenever they want to, because the reality is that I don't think anything's going to improve in the next 5 years. Our government don't seem to be doing much about it.
No.
And so we still need to provide a first-class service to them, really.
I think it's a very interesting, also as you said, and I think where I see it changing, and you are actually saying a lot about the same areas. I had a conversation with our good friend, both of us, Alastair Skiers from BPO Collection. We talked a little bit about what you got measured on now, what is important now for the end client to measure you guys on, and it's not only about getting more revenue in; it's also about creating that outstanding customer experience in general for the clients. To give them that possibilities. So one of the things that I have learned to love a little bit is compliance, and that sounds weird. And you just touched upon the compliance journey that your industry is going to, and then I think either you love it or you're going to hate it. And I came to love it, and that leads me down to my next question: how has compliance shaped now, also in the position you are in now, your commercial strategy when you are out selling your services? So how has that compliance complexity shaped that commercial strategy?
Well, I think what it's probably done in the regulated space for sure is brought some comfort to the banks and the lenders and, well, any financial service provider really, that they're going to be partnering with somebody that will not cause them a problem. Because reputationally, the debt collection industry 20 years ago was horrific, which unfortunately the media still like to paint us in that light, which is awfully frustrating, but not going to change that tomorrow. And I think realistically, what the compliance has brought is that now clients know that they can ask us questions and they can hold us to account, and we have to say we will do this, this and this, and if we're found to not be doing that, then there's space for them to basically reprimand you, shall we say. And historically that wasn't the case, and the fines that the OFT were enabled to impose upon a business were so tiny that it was pointless. And that was really one of the most important factors of the SCA coming in, because now you have to have a person within the business that's accountable, and there's actually realistic fines that make a business think, hang on a minute, I better make sure I do what I've said here and not just say one thing and do another. So I think it's done wonders. And if you look at the rate of FOS complaints upheld from 10 years ago to now, it's difficult because they don't separate out debt collection independently. But you can see that the view and the opinion that exists about what we do and how we do it is certainly very, very different to how it was before. And that's been the real positive of them coming in.
Yeah. So when you see the landscape out there and you should try to give some advice to other people, what is the number one compliance mistake you see, like other scaling firms like us and etc. make? What's the one number one like big compliance where you say, oh, I would have passed that over to somebody that would have been good for them to know? What could that be?
From a compliance perspective?
Yeah.
I would probably have to say invest in your agents, because they are representing your brand. They're who your customers speak to. They're who your clients are going to listen to, because they'll ask for calls. And they are who are going to be written about on the internet. Because reviews online is a whole other space that we also didn't used to have to deal with. Yeah, so I think investing in that first line contact is key. And that's why, going back to what you asked before about what would be important with an AI tool, that testing to make sure that it's not frustrating for a customer is what's vital, because we need to provide a service to them that's easy, quick and efficient. And so if you can make sure your agents have the knowledge to answer questions in a compliant way that's not going to cause complaints, and they're not going to upset people, because nobody's talking to us through choice. They did not buy that product from us. They've been landed with dealing with ARC through no choice of their own. They don't get a say in which debt collection agency gets past their account. And we want to make sure that transition to dealing with us as a debt collection agency instead of their lender is seamless.
Yeah. So good answer, that one. How do you balance innovation, you can say, because this is what is innovation. You are innovating your industry, and you are innovating that game you are sitting in. You're doing more channels, you're doing all these things. How do you balance between innovation and all this regulatory pressure that you also talked about, that you felt? How do you balance those things?
I think it's easier now because the regulatory frameworks are in place. 10 years ago, that was really, really tough because everyone was scrabbling around to try and write policies and procedures and have a compliance framework. And you didn't have to have a compliance officer, and you certainly didn't have a specific complaints manager. I think in my previous business, our administration department went from 1 to 6 in about 3 years because there was suddenly so much oversight and everything to do. So the cost for businesses has been massive to incorporate everything that was needed, and which was one of the biggest challenges really for people, because our clients wouldn't let us charge them any more money, and suddenly we had all these additional costs that we had to bear. So that's difficult. But I would say that now, because those things are already there, they're embedded into the business, and also your staff are so aware of what they need to do, and that message comes from the top. That, you know, that's the brilliance of the 3 lines of defense model that we operate. So everyone knows what's expected of them now, so you can focus on that innovation because the compliance frameworks are there and they're embedded anyway. So that frees us up really. And I think that's one of the great things that we have. We have our own internal IT department who built our system, and we're not reliant on somebody else. So if we want to make a change, or we want to drive the business in a certain direction, then we can do that, which is brilliant and really helps us. And it means we're so adaptable and available to clients, and we get commended on that regularly, that we respond to their questions and queries and requirements really, really fast. And that's something we pride ourselves on.
Yeah. Little bit into, like, again, your journey, and also how you see, like, you have been the whole collection industry and the customer portfolio out there. They are going through tough times right now. You see vulnerability is rising, and changes are happening also in the customers' portfolio, and the dialogues are changing, and the flows are changing, etc. What is your personal playbook for keeping your teams generally motivated in tough times?
I think we're really lucky that our business puts so much focus on our staff and making sure that they feel recognised, and we have so many internal incentives. And as you mentioned earlier, you see on our LinkedIn, we do a lot within the company to make everybody feel part of it and inclusive at all times. We've got a barbecue coming up in a couple of weekends' time where we'll all get together and do some silly sports day games. I'm still waiting to find out who's on my team. And we had a management offsite day recently for sort of some team bonding between the senior leaders, which was a great success. And I mean, I seriously upset the average tenure of people that have worked in our management team, because it's around 20 years, and that just goes to show you really what a well-respected leader we have, and how delighted everybody is to work with him, because it really, I've never been anywhere like it. It is just such a lovely, happy environment to be in. And going back to my roots, I love being in the call centre. In fact, I miss it. And so I often go for a wander over that side and have a chat to the agents. And it's you can see the really lovely bonds and relationships that exist there too. So they have a great manager, and he makes sure that they are incentivised and happy and supported all the time. And if you've got a happy workforce, then going back to what we said before, that's who your customers are talking to. So it's important that they feel that they've got the knowledge. We've got Enzo leads our QA department, and he does so much good training with everybody to make sure that they understand how to support customers. And we also, on the flip side, have a great support scheme for our staff. So if they want help or support or guidance or counselling, that's all there and covered for everybody as well. So I think we really look after it from both sides to make sure we deliver that for our customers.
And deep in little into that, because I think that's a noble thing, and I think you're right. This is also where it's a hard industry, and it's hard to be in collection, and it's hard to be in a call center. It's a hard job. That's just the fact of it. So
Yeah.
to create that environment is vital. Then how do you, in that environment and with that perspective, balance all these tech driving changes together with the human side of collection? And also, how do you bringing your team, the people who sits on the phone, into those kind of decisions, and have that balance of human and tech side? And I think that's something to navigate in. How do you do that?
Yeah. I think that's the problem. You bringing people into a really, really challenging role, and since the dawn of me doing this, you can tell quite quickly whether somebody is going to stay, and you can, and they know too. Some people will do that job and leave by lunchtime because they it's just not for them, and I've seen that on a number of occasions. And I think it's really important that when you've got someone that's quite frankly driven by commission, because we're lucky that that's something that you can do still in this sector. But the difference is, the shift is, previously you would just offer commission based on collections, whereas now you can incentivize people on their performance, customer satisfaction scores, surveys that we might give, QA scores, and we've most recently rolled out speech analytics, so that we can get tone and feedback and all those good things. So there's so many different elements now that we can use to feed back to our agents and praise them on their performance. We've also recently rolled out a training tool that's going to, over the next 3 months, just constantly ask them questions just to see areas that they might need some support in, or anything we can do to further their development. And I think it's all these different tools and things that we continue to invest in that show our agents how important and valued they are of the job that they're doing. And I think that's what's really key.
As it was a super sentence you said there. Is not, because these tools are not here to replace them at all. They are here to show. I said, when I sat on a podcast the other day, I said, it is irresponsible for any leader in that space not to invest in AI tools, not for replacing, but to give your employees the best available conditions to do the work that you have hired them to do. And that is the cool tool why you need to be on top and support them with all that. Super feedback. Biggest leadership lesson from 2008 or from COVID that you still carry on you today? What is that?
Don't take it personally, I think would have to be. I think it's important that if you have to have a difficult conversation with somebody, there's a reason for having to have that difficult conversation. And I shouldn't lay in bed at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking, oh, they're going to hate me now. Because you're helping them at the end of the day. And I suppose have more confidence to deliver things, because actually, if you're their leader, it's your responsibility to teach them and help them grow. And you shouldn't feel worried about delivering that message, because that is something I am not very good at. I'm excellent at berating myself after thinking, oh no, what have I done?
If there was a piece of advice to any lender or entering the collection space today, or company entering your space today, what is your first piece of advice to coming into the space as a new company wanted to go into collection?
What would I advise someone coming into collections? Get as much data on your customers as you possibly can, because you need and learn about how they want to engage with you, why they're engaging with you, and store that information, because it's so vital. And if you know, oh, they applied via WhatsApp, then that's probably their preferred method of contact. And if you're then going to drop them an email, you're unlikely to hear from them. So I think data gathering is so much cheaper now than it was historically. I mean, again, I'm going back to the late 90s. When I was collecting debt, early 2000s, we were still receiving photocopies of paper statement applications that people had made, and things have moved on a little. And so I think it's we're in an interesting time where data storage is peanuts, and so therefore to try and learn as much as you can about your customers and the journey that they're on is only going to help you as a lender to understand them and have that relationship with them going forward. There's a lot of financial institutions out there who sign up to X, Y, and Z and say that they're doing all the right things, and that may not necessarily be so. Hence some quite big fines that have been handed out recently. And I think that there's a lot of work to be done for consumer confidence, and we need that back, because otherwise we're not going to be able to progress our economy.
Yeah. I think at least that I would have asked you, like, what kind of risk or blind spots should lenders watch out for when they also do AI adoption, but you actually said something about it there also, because it starts with having your right data set. So if I went into a new industry, I would make sure to have the right data, enough data on my customers, enough knowledge to do the right flow, and also data that now we can enrich data all kind of places. Like you and me work, like the whole vulnerability space is also, if you enrich data, if you understand your customer profiles. One thing is to have clean data and being able to work with it and operate with it, but it's also the knowledge and understanding of a customer profile that you would want to have to do the best strategy for clients. And then you have all kind of AI tools that can help you with it. But I think that's one of the blind spots. Now I'm answering actually your question, what is the blind spot? But I think one of the blind spot is precisely also to think that AI can just fix everything for you, because that's not the case. You still need to have a right strategy. You need to have your brain in it, and you need to develop internal skills of data washing and cleansing and understanding customers. I think that is the agencies that will succeed in the future if they adapt to those things, and then adapting to those things. How does Natalie's life look like? How does Arch Europe life look like? And where are you in like 2030? And what have changed forever when we come to 2030 for you personally and for your company?
So I think to answer that question and touch on what you were just saying as well, I think the most important thing, which is what I've been putting a lot of time and effort into doing and learning, because I feel like I'm getting a bit old now, is to make sure that I understand how I can use AI to support me. Because if you're not getting involved with it, you're so behind the times, and people are going to catch on quick that you don't know. And it's really important that you do. And so I've been looking at how can we use it safely, roll it out across the business, but then also not cause distress and worry amongst the staff that it's going to replace them. Because it's really important, for example, like everything we were just discussing, it can spew out a lot of data, but if you don't have somebody to analyze it and make sure it's right and look at the trends and use that information wisely to then how do we plug this into our contact strategy? What changes should we make because of the information we've been provided? All of those things still need to be done by a human. And so I don't see it as anything that's going to replace anyone within our business. It's only going to enhance us and what we're doing. So we're intending to roll out some dialer scoring, which will help us use our dialer more efficiently, because who answers the phone these days? And so the better target dialing is really what we want to be trying to achieve. And then obviously we've been exploring the option of having an AI bot that's available 24/7, so that our customers can check in, see what their account balance are, perhaps leave a message, make that first contact with us. And then maybe in time that will develop to doing ID&V, which would save massive amounts of time for our agents with dealing with calls and so forth. And I think we've got big tech plans of things that we want to do, but really all they come back to is just making sure we provide that top quality service, because we've got some really long standing clients and some newer ones, which is obviously my job to try and find some more too. and we want to be able to make sure that we're providing multi-channel options for them and not come away. We don't want anyone to feel that there isn't an option for them, because there's a huge range of customers. You can't say, oh, debtors are this, because they're not. And people have fallen into debt through no fault of their own, through lack of understanding, through lack of knowledge, change in circumstances. There's just so many different reasons. And some of them will want to pick up the phone and talk to you about that. Some will want to send you an email. Some want a text message chain. Some want to just probably send one message and then not think about it again for another month because they haven't got the capacity to at that time. And so we need to be able to make sure we can offer all these different options to somebody whenever they're willing and ready to engage. Something I was speaking to somebody about recently was one of these portals that they can log into and see if there's any additional entitlements that they have. And that's something we want to put out on our website to try and support customers and say, you might be really feeling the pinch on your income right now, but why don't you have a look here and see if there's anything else you can do? And it's just, I'm always trying to think of different new innovative things we can do to support the customers.
I think what you said there is what will change in the next 5 years. And when we stand in 2030, I say the same. I love that you said what you want to do, that there's unclaimed benefits. Where could we support customers in that? I think it will go from collection to resolution. It is already changing to that. What can we support? Could we help our clients, advising our clients better in the situation that they have ended in for somehow, some way? And I think that is what will change, and will put more and more pressure also on education of your staff, making sure that the shift are going even more dramatically in the situation we are today, to that they can rely on also to have that skill set to advise people in that situation, that more and more people are coming in. So I think that is what we will see over the next 5 years, is a huge change in dialogue. And it's funny you mentioned this enrichment of, could you also, I'm enriching some data for some clients with what could they potentially get back in unclaimed benefit, and imagine to write out to a client, we cannot guarantee you anything, but it looks like you could be able to get, let us help you with that. And while we do that, let's try to resolve the horrible situation you have landed in. Bam, that service, that's 5 stars on Trustpilot or wherever they mention it. So
Yeah.
nice to see that. Wrap it up firing here in the end of our little episode, Natalie. 3 fast questions. Best business advice that you ever received for somebody? What is that?
Ask a question and don't talk.
Bam. Fire away. That's one. One book, resources, or one mentor in the industry that have shaped you, besides your father, to stand where you stand today.
This is going to feel like I'm saying this just because he's my boss. But it would have to be Derry, because I've known him now. I know this is supposed to be a quick answer, but this is a very funny story, so I'll tell it fast.
Yeah.
I first met him at a conference about 15 years ago. And it was the first conference I'd ever been to. It was when I was first given the task of, can you go and try and win us some new business? And I walked into this room full of people. I would have been 24, I think, and I was extremely overwhelmed. And he very kindly, there was himself and Nick Cherry along with a few others, and they said, you can come and sit with us. So thank you very much, sit down. And Nick had won a bottle of champagne. I think he put his business card into a bowl or something like that. So he got presented with this bottle, brings it back to our table and opens it, and didn't realise that it had been accidentally shaken up. So he popped the cork and this thing just exploded onto my head, and I was drenched from head to toe and had to spend the whole rest of this conference very sticky and covered in champagne all throughout dinner. So that was the very first time we met. And then over the years, we just stayed in contact. Geographically, we were close together, and we've met up for far too many drunken nights out over the years. And whenever I've been unsure or had a difficulty or anything, he's just always been there at the end of the phone, or we've gone out, and he's just been such a wonderful support to me. So I've been really, really grateful. And obviously since joining ARC, the guidance and the confidence he has in me has given me that real boost that I needed as well. So
it's this weird question, my last one, because you could say you look like you have found your right place to be, both company wise, industry wise, network wise, etc. But if not debt collection, what would you be doing?
I don't know. I've never done anything else. What would I do? I mean, realistically, I'd like to be sat on a beach with a pina colada somewhere. But I appreciate that you need some money to fund doing that. I would honestly have to say I've never had any desire to do anything but. I've always felt so lucky that I've loved my job. And I can't imagine what that must feel like to wake up in the morning and dread going to work. And I have never, ever, ever felt like that. That's a lie. I probably did at the beginning when I was just the boss's daughter. And no one wanted to go to lunch with me.
Makes sense.
But right. No, so I honestly don't think I would change it.
Yeah, but it's also, you can say, a lot of your colleagues out there here in the end of it, you can say you grew up, a lot of you there. When I talk to different industry, you all know each other. You go more than 20 years back, most of you. So you come into an environment and you also get a safe place there, a space where it's a big industry, but it's a very small industry in the end, because people are sticking together and that. So Natalie, thank you so much for joining me today. Super nice to hear more about your journey and your show. So for the audience out there, this was Natalie Bunyer. Show us what it would take to lead with trust, compliance, and innovation in debt collection. Again, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your insight and perspective on the industry I'm trying to serve the best way possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. It was lovely to see you.